Hi, Allie.
Hi, Elle. Thanks for
I-
inviting me.
I'm so excited about this conversation for my series, Desire and Dharma.
Hmm.
And I want to just introduce you. Alison Cohen is one of my dearest friends in the world, and she is a brilliant meditation teacher, a former public school teacher, and a school based mindfulness program director. She guides the organization called Two Wings Mindfulness, which offers courses, retreats, one on one coaching grounded in trauma sensitive mindfulness practice. She's taught in Tara Brach's A Year of Courageous Loving program and mentored in Tara and Jack's mindfulness meditation teacher certification program, and as well as their Power of Awareness course. She's a graduate of Harvard and Fordham, and she trained with Mindful Schools, UMass Center for Mindfulness in MBSR, International Institute for Restorative Practices, and like a million other things. And she is just the best. Check out everything that she has to offer. But today we get to talk about desire. And one of the things that I love that we've just talked about between the two of us when we're talking about desire is this relationship between desire and deep inner knowing,
Hmm.
trusting, feeling, knowing what we want. And then how do we deal with that information? How do we work with that information? And so I'm wondering, I know that you took a course a little while ago about what was it called? Whether should I become a mother? Is that
Yeah, it was basically parenthood or motherhood. Is it for me? Question mark?
and you were
Yeah.
telling me about this course and how it helped you to kind of suss out some of these questions about desire and what to do with it. Can you go into that a little bit?
Sure, I'd love to, yeah, Ellen. Just want to say it's really such a treat to be here with you. And I'm honored and thrilled. And yeah, so for as long as I can remember, I have felt unclear, unsure, ambivalent about having my own kids. And I'm not sure if I shared this with you, but just in the last year, I found a journal from when I was 5. And in that journal, I mean, it's adorable, it's hilarious. Many of the letters look like letters from another language, let's just put it that way. Um, but in it, I wrote about my desires and my questions about the future. So I wrote things like, when I grow up, I will have nice friends, which clearly that came to fruition.
Whoa.
And I also, at the very end of the journal, and by the way, I know that it was from when I was 5 because on one of the pages in huge letters, I wrote, I'm 5. I must have been very proud of that. So on the last page, I wrote, maybe I will get married. Maybe I will have kids, but I don't know. So no one ask me. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I come by this ambivalence, this confusion really honestly.
Mm.
Um, and what's interesting about it is that I love kids. I was a teacher for many years. There's nothing I would rather do than hang out with a 3-year-old or an 11-year-old or a 16-year-old. And
You are
so,
very good with my kids. I can see that. They love you.
thank you. And so it really felt like a confusing conundrum in a sense. What's this really about? And more than more than anything else, there was a sense of not really knowing or being in touch with or being able to access or contact my desire.
Mm.
So I signed up for this course run by a therapist though it is a coaching program, who brings together people from all over the world. That was one of the most interesting and fun aspects of the program, to go through this step by step, highly structured inner work program, but in the context of community, where you get to the core of what your desire is. And at the very beginning of the course, she's just so straightforward. She says, look, I don't care what decision you make. I have no, what's the idiomatic expression? No,
Worse in the game,
something
maybe.
like that. I was going to say teeth in the game. I don't know. So she said, I don't care what decision you make, but you have a right as a human being to be in touch with, to know, to tap into, to feel what your actual desire is.
Mm,
That is your birthright as a human being.
mm,
And she would talk about the way societally, familially, culturally, we often end up from such a young age overriding our desires or dismissing them or pushing them to the side or telling ourselves, I don't really have this desire. And then over time, we become so disconnected from desire. But desire is deeply connected to a sense of aliveness and vitality, and the confusion in our culture is around whether desires have to come to pass in order for them to be of benefit to us. And so she said, look, I'm interested in two-step decision making. And one of the things about this course I appreciated was just how practical it was. And she said, I'm going to take you through exercise after exercise, conversation after conversation. You're going to do homework on your own. You're going to do guided meditations. My whole goal is to help you get clear. Do I want kids or not? And then there's a huge chasm. They're totally separate, huge space between what you desire and what you ultimately decide to do.
mm.
And the example she would give, if I can just share one or two,
Yes.
she would say, let's say you realize, oh, wow, I really want to have kids. I really want to have kids, whether those kids are biological kids or via adoption. And maybe you get some clarity on that too, but I really want this. But you're partnered and your partner's clear. They don't want kids.
Mm,
She said, well, then you have options. You can say, I honor this desire. I'm capable of grieving and mourning that I'm not going to have children, and I'm going to stay with this partner. You could say, partner, may you be well. We are no longer moving forward. And you could realize, I actually only want to have kids with a partner. And so you start dating again.
mm,
Or the decision could be clear. I want this so much. And for me, it feels like time is running out. So I'm going to say goodbye to this partner and I'm going to be a single parent by choice.
mm,
And what she would emphasize over and over again is that a big part of the emotional maturation process of adulthood is learning how to increase our capacity for grief and disappointment.
mm,
And that can actually also enhance our aliveness and wholeheartedness, especially if it's coming from a place of feeling empowered by the knowledge of our desire.
mm,
So this was such an exceptional experience for me because I really gave myself over to the process. Huh, well, you're genuinely unsure, Allie, or so you think. She's telling you other people who have gone through this process have gotten to some clarity. Are you willing to access that clarity for yourself? Because I think that's another piece with desire. Sometimes we're not actually ready or willing to access, to listen, to be in contact with what we really want. It's scary. So there's this piece that's an attitudinal readiness. As one of my teachers who I know you know, Chris McKenna would say, and Chris and his wife Megan, both teachers of mine, they really encourage I am willing to access my innermost knowing.
Mm.
And then checking, am I really willing?
Can I ask why? Why is it scary?
Hmm. Just in listening to you pose the question, I noticed that what reverberated through me is a sense of so many of us have been socialized to a believe that our desires need to align with, map onto, match what someone else whose perspective we value or who has judged us or who uh, will find appropriate or okay. So there's that piece. Sometimes also there's a part of us that knows if we really honor this desire, we're going to need to make a lot of changes in our life.
Mm. It's going to lead to big things.
It's going to lead to big things. And it may also lead to disappointing other people,
Mm.
grieving aspects of our own lives or our own choices or our own. And also, it might lead us to mm, walk a path less traveled.
Mm.
And that can be really scary. And then I think the other piece is sometimes, in a sense, I don't know why this is the image that's coming up, but removing the band aid. Oh, this is the desire. There's a recognition, there's some mourning. Wow, there's a part of me, a conditioned part of me, or the conditioned mind that has been overriding my own yeses and nos for so long that there can be a sense of, whew, this is a lot.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking the ways we do that on a regular basis. Ignore what we
Right,
want, try to be something for someone else.
right. And then there's in what's interesting is that in the same moment when all of that can be coming up, there can be a glimpse, a taste of, oh, but actually, if I lean into this or experiment with this, another way of being, another way of living becomes possible.
Mm. Mm.
So, in my own case, in this program, doing the uh, homework, doing the practices, showing up, listening to my comrades in this question as they're unpacking their own concerns, yearnings, and ambivalence. And the the program was 3 or 4 months, and as it was nearing its end, insight arose. Oh, I want this. I want this. This is something I genuinely desire
Meaning to have children.
to have children. And it wasn't, I want to have, it wasn't such a clear, I want to have kids tomorrow, or I want to, oh, this is something that I want. And then, and you and I have talked about this, and I know don't need to discuss it on YouTube, but for a whole host of reasons, it's clear to me that having kids, um, biological kids through those means, is not on the table for me. It's not something that um, is going to happen in this lifetime. And so quickly after sensing into the desire, there was that recognition and grief welled up, and my sense of vitality surged through my system. Oh, you know what you want. And as we would say in the mindfulness world, what's here? And can it be met with boundless compassion and kindness?
Mm.
What's here? Desire, grief that this will not be my experience in this lifetime,
Mm.
a holding, a loving embrace of compassion and care, a sense of being connected to human beings around the planet who also have this desire and who also aren't going this route. And
Mm.
then I finally felt like I could rest.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I think you're so much of this sharing is going to really resonate for people because I know when I'm teaching about desire, am or coaching someone, and I encourage them. I do perhaps some of the similar steps that your teacher was doing, like, can we listen? Can we know? And I want to get back to what those specific steps are.
Hmm.
But the number one thing that the person says, usually right up front, is like, uh, I I don't want to do that because what if it doesn't come true? What if I can't get this thing? What if I open the door and then, like I let this thing out that feels very big and unwieldy, and then disappointed, or like not more than disappointed, like it's like you're hit with this grief. It's like, why did you make me do that?
Yeah.
And I sometimes have myself question, like, is this damaging in some way? Because that grief can be so just gut wrenching, gutting. And what you're saying is, and it's life. It's like some version of opening the door on aliveness. So I'm wondering if you can kind of talk more about that.
Yeah, and what I do want to say from also just from a trauma sensitivity standpoint is that it is important to discern if there's a sense of this is going to be too much.
Yeah.
And I'll say I've been really lucky and privileged to have access to excellent coaches, therapists, spiritual teachers, and I've really needed, as one of my friends calls it, this EST, this earthly support team.
Yes.
Um, and what I will say, because I think it might be helpful to just continue a little bit with what arose for me, I realized, oh, I will have a kids filled life.
Mm.
I will have a kids filled life.
Mm.
Maybe I'll marry someone who already has children. Maybe I'll prioritize, which, and this is already what's happening, a few friends who I know from college. They have young children who I've known now for their entire lives. And I show up each year, multiple times a year, and they're getting to know me and view me as part of their village. And it's been powerful to recognize in the midst of the desire, the grief, it's not going to look this way.
Mm.
Oh, there are so many other options. And it was as if all of these other doors became available to me, um, and more access to creativity rather than a binary this or this.
Mm.
The other piece I will say is that sometimes we can have a misconception that if we were to get that, we would definitively be happier or more content or live a life of greater meaning. And who knows? And I'll say it's really fascinating, especially as I've owned my own journey, to just have friends with children, without children, open up to me about their lives, especially as it relates to kids.
Mm.
And it has become abundantly clear to me that whatever choice you make, it's about a particular orientation to living life authentically, wholeheartedly, connectedly, that really impacts well being, not
Mm.
about whether you get exactly what you want.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think that's such a good point. It's sometimes kind of like the way that we, at least for myself, the way when I'm not sure if I'll get something I want, I kind of try and talk myself out of it by being like, yeah, it's probably not real anyway, or like it probably won't feel good anyway. And that's not what you're talking about. Like that is kind of like
No.
ways of trying to tamp down or
Right.
deny the desire. And there is something true about the fact that almost anything we say we want, we don't really, because we don't have it yet, as that's like the nature of wanting something,
Right.
is that we don't really know what it will be like or
No.
feel like to get it. all we have is kind of like past experiences to go on, or like what we've seen, or kind of little synapses firing together to like have us have an imagination of what it will be like, but we don't really know what it'll be like. And so I think that's important because it might help us to like not hold so tightly to, as you're saying, one view of how this turns out. Yeah.
Yes. I love that, especially because what that's making me think of, Yael, is that after going through this program, when did I do that program? In 2023. So maybe it's been 2.5 years or something. And I had actually attempted to read her book on my own a few years before that. So I'd been in this question, stewing in this question for a while. Um, After taking that course, I started to have more clarity about the contours of my future life come into focus
Mm,
in a way that felt energizing and exciting, and I wasn't in what felt like, this is maybe a strange image, but a stagnant puddle
mm,
of inertial water, not knowing what my desire was. And then in a sense, once it came out of the floodgates and I was able to honor it and meet it and thank it for cluing me in, I could then start to imagine, well, in this lifetime, each of us is dealt a different set of cards, different set of circumstances, and I really want to live and feel and be and connect. And there are so many different, um, the word tableau comes up, but there are so many different ways in which that can become possible.
mm,
And so it's interesting because there's a both and of really honoring what's true for us and saying, who knows? And can I live into that from a place of genuine interest in living fully?
yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. On that note, I wonder if you can kind of give anybody watching or listening like a little taste of some of those step by step guideposts of how do we learn what it is that we want, and to make that kind of two-step decision of what do we want and then what do we want to do with that information. Did I get that
Yeah,
right?
I love that. Yeah,
If you can
yeah,
guide us in something small to take that away.
yeah. So, one of the most valuable processes on a day-to-day basis, moment by moment basis that I've engaged in, and I learned it through this program, but it also dovetailed with mindfulness practice, is moment by moment by moment asking, and you might even try it right here, right now. What's here? Is there a desire on any level that's present? You might just keep it really simple. Oh, a desire for a blanket or an extra layer or a sweater. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Huh. I'm noticing in myself right now a desire to drink some coconut water.
Mm.
I've been feeling like pretty thirsty today, and so that's coming up. I'm also noticing a desire to keep talking to you, even though I know we're going to be bringing this to a close soon. And I'm noticing a desire not to check my email, which I've done way too much of this week.
Mm,
What's interesting is that simply in connecting to moment by moment desires, we're strengthening an extraordinary muscle for staying in touch with the truth of our experience, gently, lovingly, connectfully.
mm,
And as I heard on retreat recently, another way we might describe mindful awareness practice is contactfulness,
mm,
making contact with what's here. And then what's interesting is once we have touched in, oh, desire for a blanket. well, then there's a choice to be made. Well, I'm here talking to Yael right now, and the blanket is in the other room. I think I'm just going to wait on it. Okay. Or I'm really freezing. Yael, can I go get that?
Yeah,
And we start to see that in any given moment, we can tap into the vitality of desire and then make decisions from a more empowered place.
beautiful. Thank you so much. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, it's Two Wings Mindfulness. Is that right?
Yeah.
And have a wonderful day and grab that blanket.
Thanks, Yael. Thanks, everybody. Take
Thank you.
care.
Bye.
Bye.